Good evening, everyone. Tonight is a public meeting of the Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals for September 8, 2014. A couple of housekeeping matters. If you have any electronic devices, could you please either turn them off or turn them down? And second of all, if you plan on speaking on behalf of a petition, if you could please sign in at the podium with your name and address before addressing the board. Our first matter before us is under continuances. This is ZB 2014-32, the petitions of variance. The applicant is Natalie Greenblatt Revocable Trust, property located at 100 Burnside Street. The petitioner seeks variance approval to construct a new single-family home without meeting required lot size, frontage, and lot area per dwelling unit. Pursuant to Section 5.1 of the zoning ordinance. Attorney Flood?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, James Flood, do you want to handle this one separately or both together?
I would just soon handle them separately if we could.
Okay. Well, I've got a bunch of things I want to hand out, but they really pertain to both of them.
Do you want to do this one first or the other one? Does that matter to
It
you?
makes no difference. This is the...
No, I just assume handle them separately.
All right, as far as this one's concerned, what we're asking for is just to build a new garage on the lot at 99 Sale Street. The one on Burnside Street will be demolished and a new one will be built. It will conform to zoning, will conform to side yard setbacks. I have a copy of the plan in this package of that garage, which I don't think you have in your package, but that's basically what that one deals with, because as part of the deal on the Burnside Street lot, the buyer is going to build her a new garage. So basically that's what that one is.
Okay, so we're going to do 100 Burnside first, correct?
Sure, might as well.
Okay.
Might as well. So can I just give you these then?
And this is for 99 sales?
It's got the garage plan is in here for Sale Street, and the rest is basically on Burnside.
Okay.
Want them now?
Right, sure.
All right, for the record, I'm representing Natalie Greenblatt, the trustee of the Natalie Greenblatt Realty Trust, who owns both parcels at 100 Burnside Street and 99 Sale Street, along with Bun and Mary LLC, the prospective purchaser of the premises at 100 Burnside Street. And Wun Shun is here tonight also. Also with me is Philip Nyman, who is Mrs. Greenblatt's personal attorney, who would like to reserve any comment to rebuttal if it's necessary. As I explained to you before, Mrs. Greenblatt is desirous of selling the property at 100 Burnside Street to Bun and Mary LLC, and they have agreed to construct a garage. They've agreed as part of that deal to tear down the existing garage and construct a new garage on her property at Sale Street. They would like to build a single-family dwelling on the Burnside Street site. In order to accomplish this, we're before you tonight for the following reliefs. At Sale Street, we're here to maintain the existing single-family home without meeting required lot size, frontage, side setback, and lot area per dwelling unit. All of these requested variances result from the present non-conforming status of the structure or the property. According to the records at the City of Lowell Assessor's Office, the building on Sale Street was built in 1920, which was long before the adoption of zoning in the city. The construction of the new garage will meet all existing dimensional requirements for a garage. As to Burnside Street, we are looking for a variance to construct a new single-family home without meeting the required lot size, lot frontage, and lot area per dwelling unit. The proposed home will conform with all dimensional requirements of the City of Lowell zoning ordinance. The package that I gave you tonight is a copy of the original subdivision plan of the neighborhood recorded in 1915, which established all the lots. I've noted our lots in pink. I've also given you a copy of a page from the most recent assessor's book listing all of the properties on Burnside Street. I've also pointed out our parcel in pink, and as you can see, the building value is $200, which represents a portion of the garage. I've given you a copy of the City of Lowell assessor's map that shows the property on Sales Street and Burnside Street, and also the entire surrounding neighborhood. I have outlined Mrs. Greenblatt's lots in pink. I've also enclosed a copy of the new garage for Sales Street. I've given you a copy of a variance issued by this board in 2007 on behalf of Mrs. Greenblatt's neighbor, Richard Guthrie. It pertains to the abutting properties at 105 Sales Street and 110 Burnside Street. I've given you a copy of the special permit issued in May by the City of Lowell Planning Board, allowing us to proceed. And you will note that the well, under the new zoning, because of the frontage and the property, we had to go to the planning board first in order to come to you. That's as a result of that amendment that was done on the Andover Street project. I have given you a copy of a petition signed by residents of the neighborhood, which I've given you the original, Mr. Bailey, and I've given you a copy of a letter of support from Shane Walsh, who is an abutter up the street who is unable to be here tonight because he is working, and I've also given you a copy of a letter from Dean Johnson, who's across the street, who is also unable to be here tonight. A little bit of history. Mrs. Greenblatt acquired both parcels, the Sales Street piece and the Burnside Street piece, with her husband Alan in 1955. Both parcels were purchased from different grantors and by separate deeds. Mrs. Greenblatt's husband passed away in 1994, and she still resides at the home at 99 Sales Street. To this day, she still receives 2 separate tax bills from the City of Lowell. Prior to the appearance before this board, we did appear before the planning board under section 5.1.10 because of the insufficient frontage. As you can see from the planning board decision, the board found that the proposal features a lot consistent with the neighborhood. Did, however, place a condition on that approval that in the event that this board does approve this petition, that we would have to go back to the planning board with the plan for the house for their approval. As previously stated, the lot was established in 1915 by a plan recorded with the Middlesex North Registry in Plan Book 33, Plan 7. The size, shape, and dimension of the lot has not changed since that date, and because of its size, shape, and dimension, it cannot conform with present zoning. As you can see from the sheet from the assessor's book, the size of the lots on Burnside Street vary from 1,614 feet to 8,740 feet. Also, if you look at the building value, you will see that this is the only lot without a house on it, and the only thing showing is the $200 for the portion of the garage. This is the only house on only lot on Burnside Street that doesn't have a house on it. As to the assessor's map, you will note that a majority of the lots in the entire neighborhood are of the same size as this one. There were some staff comments. We don't have any problem. The only one that we have a problem with has to do with there was a reference on some granite curbing on the street. The problem with that is because of the the hill that were very difficult to do because of the match. But as far as the windows are concerned, no problem. We will deal with the engineering department for the drainage. Any trees there, we will work with the department in coming up with a landscape plan for the lot. But as to the granite curbing, I think that would be difficult. So I would say that due to the size, shape, and topography of the lot on 100 Burnside Street, Mrs. Greenblatt has a hardship to support this request. As the assessor's map shows, many of the homes on Burnside Street, Sale Street, Fairgrove Avenue, and as well as the surrounding area are all of similar size. Some are smaller, some are larger, but they're mostly small lots. We respectfully request the approval of this petition. We feel that relief can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without nullifying the purpose of zoning. I don't think the zoning ordinance would, I don't think it should be applied to one person where every other lot has been built on. So this request is very similar to the one of the properties next door that was approved. This board has also approved some other smaller lots recently on West Fifth Street, the one over on off Andover Street, which was in an SSF zone. So it's nothing new for this board. And because of the circumstances surrounding this, the fact that she owned it for many years, there's nothing we can do with the lot. I'd ask you to approve this.
Can you tell me about the type of driveway you're going to use?
In what respect?
Parking?
They're going to be one behind another.
Okay, which will be not similar to the home to the right that was built back in 2007?
No, the one, they went in and got a variance to set it back further, but the problem with that is the portion of that driveway encroaches on our property. We have a picture to that effect. Mr. Nyman has that, so. I mean, that can be done. There's room to do that because we have all that usable open space in the back. But,
Okay, so the parking will be on the right side?
Right side, yeah.
Yeah. And you're allowing how many spaces?
2.
Yep. Okay. Is there any, did you provide a landscape plan at all? Okay, so what's the plan for the
We
landscaping?
will work with the department to come up with a proper landscape plan on the house.
Okay.
It's a small lot. There aren't many trees on there now. I think there are trees on the left-hand side, but we will provide appropriate landscape in the front of the house, like he's done in the past.
So who's the owner of the trees on the left-hand side of the lot?
I think Mrs. Greenblatt owns them.
Okay. Because that was one of my observations. What's going to happen with the trees?
Try to keep as many as we can.
So how close is the structure going to be to those trees?
I don't have the plan in front of me, Mr. Bailey, but it meets the side yard setback, so.
Is the builder here, or anybody here that can speak to it?
He's right here.
Okay.
Hmm?
Kwon Song Chun, 39 Brown Street, Andover, Mass. The setback is going to be 10 feet away from the trees.
It'll be 10 feet?
Yes, it shows right on the plan.
Are the trees, are they
the
sitting?
Trees is right along the, where the land,
Right. No, I've been out there, that's why I'm asking the question. How many are going to be saved?
we try to save as much as we can, but
So what would cause you to take any trees down?
just clean it up, make it look nice. So if we don't have to take it down, we won't take it down.
Okay. There's also a fence where the trees are.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Flood, I don't know if I'm mistaken, but On the plan that was given to us, it designates the chain link fence on the right, chain link in the rear.
Gonna come
I
down.
don't see one on the left-hand side. Now, I notice there's one on the left-hand side also.
Yeah, it's gonna come down. Chain link fence is gonna come down.
Okay. So that chain link is on the property line, correct? Not, I shouldn't say the property line. Is it actually on the line or not? Do you have any idea?
Well, it's right on the line. Looks on the left, it's right on the line. Looks like it's right on the line.
No. Okay.
But it's all part of that parcel of property.
Well, and that's why I'm asking about the trees. If the fence comes down, obviously, that fence has been up for a long time. It's like the rest of the lot. I would assume it's coming down. The trees, to me, give the appearance of a nice border between that property and number
And,
98
yeah.
next door, because there is
Yeah,
a significant drop-off there.
He would try to maintain what he can, but, you know, in construction, who knows? But if I could give you this.
Yeah. Okay, so you gave us the handout. I mean, I've been out there. So the existing chain link fence on the right that's coming down, that actually runs against their fence that comes off the house.
Right.
So is the driveway you're proposing going to be in line with that chain link fence? Is that,
It'll be a little, well, where's the plan? Yeah, I think it's offset the boundary line. It's 4 feet off the boundary line, which is kind of in line with that fence. So according to our engineer, that fence is within our boundary. So maybe their fence is a little up to ours.
okay. So when you cut that driveway in, you're gonna have another grade issue there also, correct? With the property next
Well,
door?
there's a little bend there. There's a little drop there, yes.
No, gives the appearance that there's more than just a little bit. That's why I wanted to ask about the driveway. Based on the plans, it looked like you're going on the right-hand side, but even based on this picture, there is a drop-off there. I was just curious what you're gonna do with that driveway. That's why I'm asking about the fence, you know? Everything, we're putting in another new home in there. I don't wanna get stuck on a driveway, but if I take a look at the plans,
I think on the other side of the lot, Mr. Bailey, it's closer to the large drop down, so I thought this side would be better for the driveway.
yeah, because he's got a half circle. And
Yeah.
obviously, they must have runoff, it's going right to the street, which I'm sure was covered by the board before.
It was. There was a
I wasn't on the
discussion.
board then, I don't think anybody was.
No, it wasn't.
so-
None of you people were on the board.
No.
But it was discussed.
Yeah.
They had to go back and request another variance for maximum, beyond the maximum setback from the street.
Okay, anything else you want to add at this
Nope,
point?
I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public. Anyone here that like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Yes, ma'am?
I would like to take this opportunity to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about my family and my life at 99 Sale Street. I have lived in my present home for the past 65 years. This was home to both of my daughters, a home where my grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and extended family come together to celebrate holidays and many other fun-filled family occasions. The Greenblatt family bought this property in 1939, where my late husband, Alan Greenblatt, lived until his untimely death at age 71. He loved our home very much, and he was a very kind man who enjoyed visiting and helping many of the neighbors. I've been working at Talk of the Town, a local beauty salon in Drake, for the past 50 years and still enjoy my part-time job. I love my home and I have absolutely no intention of ever leaving or selling it. This opportunity regarding the property adjacent to my home will help me to maintain my residential property, allowing me to continue living independently and hopefully to one day soon be able to fully retire. I don't use the adjacent property as I am neither a gardener nor a person who enjoys the outdoors. In addition to this, maintaining the property has become increasingly difficult for me over the years. This is not unreasonable taking into account that I am an 85-year-old woman. When Mr. and Mrs. Guthrie came to me a few years ago asking me to sign a petition which would allow them to build a home in their adjacent lot, similar in size to my lot currently at issue, I did not hesitate to add my name to the list. During construction, they also had a problem with the electrical lines running from the newly built home. I once again agreed to help by allowing them to run the electrical lines over my property. I'm not asking anything more or different than what Mr. and Mrs. Guthrie asked of me. I do get along with all of my neighbors and look forward to many more years of enjoying my home and our neighborhood. In addition to the information I've already submitted, I hope you can understand that when I was approached about this purchase, long before any arrangement had been made, I checked on the builder, both as to his reputation and experience. He is more than satisfactory on both counts. I also was concerned that the house design would be consistent with the neighborhood, especially since I will be the closest neighbor. I am more than satisfied in this regard as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else like to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none. Yes, sir?
Mark Walsh, 114 Burnside Street. I've lived on Burnside Street for 26 years and reside 2 lots away from the one in question. Never have I had seen a safety issue with cars backing out of driveways, which is what you're going to hear from the people that are opposing this. The neighborhood is very safe traffic-wise, and I have never seen a safety issue with street traffic. When the lot directly beside me at 110 Burnside Street was developed, these issues were all brought up and dealt with by this board, and safety was not a concern, and the proposal to develop 110 Burnside Street was approved to construct a residential house on a lot that had an easement with less buildable square feet than Mrs. Greenblatt has. All but one of the people who opposed this here before you tonight were in full support of their own interest 6 years ago when they were before this board wanting approval. They all talked about how safe the street is and want to raise a family of children and grandchildren on Burnside Street. Now when it's somebody else's turn to do the same, all of a sudden you're going to hear how unsafe they believe the neighborhood is. When 110 Burnside and 105 Seal Street was redeveloped, Mr. Guthrie, owner of the lots, had repeatedly told this board that all concerns of safety was not an issue. He took and presented pictures that he said proved no blind spot on Burnside Street. He repeatedly said parking, congestion, and the hill was not a safety issue. Also statements about how it would increase the value of the neighborhood, conform to the existing homes in the neighborhood, and will not violate the integrity of the neighborhood upon his approval to build the house 6 years ago. I believe there's a petition with 50 neighbors who support his proposal. Now he presents a proposal with 50 neighbors who magically oppose Mrs. Greenblatt's. He told this board that it would behoove the neighborhood to improve the fabric of the street with a new home. These are the things that were brought up to this board when they were going for their home to be built on the undersized lot. Same special permit that Mrs. Greenblatt's applying for. Also, that he would make accommodations for the driveway to provide a safe enter and exit, which they did, which there's no reason why Mrs. Greenblatt can't do the same. Now it's a safety issue for his grandchildren and his daughter's children. There are no concerns at the time for any other children when they wanted to build. We love the city too. We have health issues too. Our parents love us too, and we love the schools too. We're all outstanding citizens here and good character witnesses. As Mr. Guthrie was allowed to sell his lot and his daughter build a new home, the same exact situation for Mrs. Greenblatt should also be allowed. The signature citizens all along Burnside Street, Sharman Ave, and Princeton Boulevard support Mrs. Greenblatt. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the opportunity. I can only hope you do the right thing for Mrs. Greenblatt.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else want to speak in favor? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Julie Walsh, and I live at 114 Burnside Street. I fully support Natalie Greenblatt's proposal to build a house at 100 Burnside. My husband and I raised two sons who are on Burnside Street, who are now 19 and 22. There's never been any safety issues regarding them living on our street. In addition, a new house at 100 Burnside can only increase property values for the surrounding neighbors, just as the house built at 110 Burnside did. We have a nice neighborhood, and adding a brand-new home will only improve it. Thank you, and please allow Mrs. Greenblatt this opportunity. I've also been asked by Dean Johnson to read a statement because he couldn't be here tonight.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm reading this on behalf of my neighbor, Dean Johnson, who lives at 21 Fairgrove Ave. The original has been submitted to you. As one of Mrs. Greenblatt's neighbors with property on Burnside Street, I have no problems with her request to build on 100 Burnside Street site. A similar request was made nearly 7 years ago in the adjoining parcel, 110 Burnside Street, which was as small, if not smaller. I was opposed to that particular project at the time, convinced it would have an adverse effect on road traffic, street congestion, etc. It has not been an issue, which is why I have no concerns about a similar project next to that first parcel. I would expect that neighbors originally opposed to that earlier project would agree, and also that neighbors who favored that 110 Burnside build couldn't reasonably oppose what is essentially a carbon copy of that project. Dean Johnson.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? Opposition? Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Miles Gattenby, 98 Burnside Street.
Okay.
I have issues based on the plans I picked up back in August. Right now, plot plans differ with the architectural plan. They don't coordinate. For one, the plot plan, I heard tonight Mr. Flood, Attorney Flood, saying that the property line is right where the fence is. That's inaccurate. Actually sits back 25, 26 inches back from the actual property bound where the old iron stakes are. The other issue is the size of the house in the north to south dimension. On the architect's plan, it calls for a 26-foot dimension. On the civil plot plan, it's 25 feet. The other thing is just interpreting the basement elevation, first floor elevation. I went back to the architectural plan, and they differ in what they're telling me. The actual basement elevation that I came out with is 125, foot 9, mean sea level, versus 128 shown on the plan, meaning deeper penetration into the ground. I disagree that you're not going to disturb more trees, roots, to get to that basement bathtub. And, that's just the way construction's done. It's saying you can just clean it up and don't worry about it. In the winter months, November through April, the leaves come off the trees, and there's open earth. The earth is organics. It's loose gravel. There's a retaining wall that you probably saw on the 98 Burnside side, and it rolls down the hill, erosion, and it only is going to be exacerbated by the impervious surface being created by a new home and driveway up on the 100 Burnside Street parcel. So it's a real concern how the earth's going to support this, the sliding effect without a retaining wall. And this comes to the erosion control issue. I know the gable ends have been turned around versus 110 Burnside Street, but still it's got to flow downhill in gravity, so it's got to be captured and transferred into the earth. It's a little different in the winter months, but certainly in the summer months, even with an engineered retaining wall there, you've got to provide relief behind the retaining wall. And it's got to empty out for the hydrologic pressure to get released. So that's what I'm asking for. The other item here is the physical height of the house. Now, traditionally, architects would take a look at buildings placed upon hills and whatnot and step them down. This, as opposed to the ridge line on 98 Burnside Street, the ridge itself is going to be 23 to 24 feet higher than the ridge line at the ranch house at 98 Burnside Street. A little excessive. It's going to be long and narrow and skinny and towering over. It's a little different condition than over on Sale Street, where Natalie lives, than the next house down at 95 Sale Street. It's a little less of a differential, so there's disproportionate heights here. So therein lies my main concern about the whole thing here is the erosion control, the retaining earth, and the height differential of the structures. So that's why I'm here tonight, and I ask you to not approve it till we can make sure that these issues are addressed. Thanks.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in opposition? Yes, sir.
James Aylwood, 110 Burnside Street. First, I'd like to say I'm not here tonight because a house is being proposed on an undersized lot. If these two, my property and her property, were side by side anywhere else on the street, I would be here in full support. It just so happens that her property at 99 Burnside Street resides right on the crest of a hill, and unfortunately, if you stand at the base of that property and look at the hill, you can't see a car coming over the hill. It's just impossible. And we have school buses, cars do fly up and down the street, and I invite you at any time to come by and just sit there and watch in the morning, because it does happen. And unfortunately, while this is going on, you do have kids coming up, walking up the street, going to school buses, and we do that. The kids do it with no sidewalks. We're not the only treacherous hill in the city, but we are one of the very few streets in the city that doesn't have a sidewalk. There is like the beginning of a sidewalk at the base of Burnside Street, at the intersection of Burnside and Middlesex Street, that looks like it was started but never finished. So you have kids walking up and down the street, there's cars coming, and cars have been hit, from what I've been told, that have been parked on the street once or twice. So it is definitely a safety issue, and it's just, unfortunately, you can't see a car coming over the crest of that hill. And a driver coming over that hill, if a car was backing out, really would not have enough reaction time to avoid hitting that car. And there's the potential for the car to swerve, potentially hitting another parked car in another driveway.
What address are you, sir?
I'm sorry, I'm 110 Burnside Street. If you're looking at the property in question,
So you're
I'm to
in the
right.
home that was built in
Correct.
2007? Okay. And were you the owner of record in 2007? Did you move in there?
I did move, yes, I did.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Anything else, sir?
The only other issue that a concern of mine is erosion. Depending on where you are on the property, there is varying levels of height discrepancy between my property and hers. So the farther you go back into the property, the higher the height discrepancy becomes. So there is that factor of erosion. And depending on, what the proposal is for the house, if they cut into the street and they dig down farther, that's only going to increase that height, which that has to be addressed with some sort of, I don't know if they're planning a retaining wall. But the other issue too is, I have been told by several other neighbors in the neighborhood that there's a concrete pool buried in that yard. So whether that is true or not, I have no idea. I was just going on what I was told. And if that is true, then that requires additional heavy machinery to get rid of that debris, which could have the potential to crack, my foundation or damage Mr. Gattenberg's home as well. That's my main, the safety issue is number one.
Yep.
And the erosion.
Okay, sir. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak in opposition? Just a minute, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Richard Guthrie. I have some...
Thanks, sir.
My name is Richard Guthrie. I live at 105 Sale Street, Lowell, Mass. I've been there for 37 years. And I don't want to repeat some of the things that some of the other people have said, Mr. Aylward and Mr. Gattenby, but this is a safety issue. This is not about building on an undersized lot. I have no objection to anyone building on an undersized lot as long as it meets all of the qualifications, all of the requirements. And one of the main requirements is safety. And if you look at the folder I just gave you, and you start to read down on some of the ones that I had checked out, I want to know how they're going to address the safety. Does the project provide adequate and safe pedestrian and vehicle access? It does not. Cars coming over that hill cannot see anyone backing out of that lot. That's where this problem is. This is a safety issue. Now, when I built back in 2008, when I came before the board, they required that I bring back my surveyor, stake out the lot, show them where the house is going to be, show them where the driveway was going to be so that there was no sight problem, and address the concerns of the neighbors. That's all I'm asking. I think that Mrs. Greenblatt should be held to the same standards that I was held to. If there is no safety issue here, I don't have a problem with this. But we have children walking up and down that street. We have buses going over that hill every morning. And I don't think that's an unreasonable request that I ask that this zoning board come to that lot and address the concerns of those neighbors. Have the surveyor come back, stake it out so you can see exactly where this home is going to be, exactly where the driveway is going to be, and address those concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guthrie. Anyone else like to speak in opposition? Yes, sir.
I guess I'm the oldest, and I'll speak the last.
All right, sir.
Name is Irwin Davis, 84 Burnside Street in Lowell. I've lived there 50 years, and the biggest concern I have is when you come down Burnside Street, you get at 114 before you can see down the hill. What I'm concerned about more than anything else is the workmen who come to work on the property. They are going to be parked all over that very narrow street. When I come down, if there's one vehicle parked on either side and a school bus or even the trash trucks come up, I wait until they come by. So I'm asking Mr. Guthrie, when his house was built, that he allowed them to park on his property. I request that Mrs. Greenblatt allow them to park on her property and come through the yard. And that's my biggest concern, is the safety on that hill. If you're coming up the hill, you can't see what's coming down until you get right to the top. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak in opposition? Opposition? Hearing none. That portion of the public hearing is closed. Ma'am, you had your hand up, and if you're going to address, there was a comment about a pool. If you're going to address the pool, I'll let you come back up. If it isn't about the pool, then, okay, I'll let you come up for that. Just make sure you stick to the pool.
I just wanted to assure everybody that there was a pool on that property, and I had a construction company come in, and they broke the pool all up and took away all the big pieces of cement, the steel, and everything else that was in the pool. So the pool is not there. They did use some of the gravel to help fill the lot, but there's no pool on that property.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Well, the public hearing is all set right now. If you want to speak after at some point. Well, I gave everybody a chance to get up here. You could have come up.
I reserve the right for him on rebuttal, I think.
Excuse me?
I said when I first spoke, I said, Mr. Nyman, I'd like to reserve the right for rebuttal to Mr. Nyman.
So if you made that statement, I didn't hear it.
I did.
Okay,
I
Mr.
did.
Nyman.
Sorry, and I shan't take a lot of time.
I'm getting old too, Mr. Flood, I don't hear as well either. Yes, sir.
My name's Phil Nyman, and I represent Mrs. Greenblatt. I just want to point out to you that I spent part of the weekend looking at the tapes and the discs of the hearing when Mr. Guthrie and Mr. Aylward were seeking to get the same relief that Mrs. Greenblatt is looking for today. And when they ended up, there were a bunch of neighbors here who opposed them. And if you wanted to, we could get the other discs and you can look at them. They are not very exciting. But everything that's said on there is Mr. Guthrie. Mr. Guthrie rebutting everything that all the neighbors said about the bad traffic and the traffic coming up and down and the cars and the bikes and the skateboards, and there was no room for parking. And Mr. Guthrie stood up and he said, there's plenty of room. That doesn't happen. There haven't been any accidents. And Mr. Guthrie opposed every one of those oppositions, the same oppositions he threw up here tonight. There hasn't been an accident on that street than in anybody's memory. There isn't any traffic problem on that street, and there hasn't been for years. Mr. Guthrie and his son-in-law, Mr. Aylward, have lived on that street, I think, for over 7 years. Mr. Aylward built a house that's larger than what Mrs. Greenblatt wants to build. He's got a 3-story house on land that he bought from his father-in-law. Respectfully, the objections that they have no basis. We have documentation that what they are saying tonight, they didn't say 7 years ago when they were desperate to get what they are looking for. I think it's grossly unfair for them to come up here tonight. I think there is no evidence whatsoever. They talked about leaves and they talked about dirt. There's no engineer here. There's nothing here that indicates that they know what they're talking about, that they tested. This is the last lot in a very nice neighborhood in Lowell. It's the Highlands. There is no problem with sliding. There's no problem with coasting. There are no accidents. This is going to be a fine single-family home with people who hopefully will buy it that will fit right in with the neighborhood. Mr. Guthrie doesn't even have a legal standing here because he doesn't live on Burnside Street. And in order to object, you have to have a legal basis for objecting with respect to the property. He doesn't live on Burnside Street. He lives on Sales Street. Respectfully, I just want you to consider that. We can back up everything that I have just said. This is a wonderful woman whose family has lived there
I was looking through the deeds. In the 30s, they bought a piece of property here. They've lived here all these years. Their children have lived here. She got the property when her husband passed away. It came in 2 separate deeds. For some reason or other, nobody advised them to put one in Mary's name and one in Joe's name. We wouldn't be here tonight. This is going to, she lives in a high-class house. They're going to erect a high-class house. It's going to be consistent with the neighborhood. And there are no neighbors here objecting. In fact, all the neighbors who were objecting were all out in force when Mr. Guthrie and Mr. Aylward wanted their house. Who's here opposing it now? Mr. Guthrie. Respectfully, the documentation exists. It's on the discs. I'm representing to you accurately, and respectfully, I'm asking you to disregard what they said and to grant the requests that are being made here. If there's a problem with the house, it has nothing to do with the Board of Appeals. It has to do with the building department. We have to go back to the planning board to have them review what you people approve. It's going to be supervised. There's not going to be anything different. Respectfully, thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Are there any questions?
No, sir. No, we're all done. We're all done. Public hearing's done. Okay. Going to open it up to the board. Mike, questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question for Judy first, actually. As with most applications, special permits or variances, would we have heard back in this case from traffic, engineering, police, and fire, or is that only for special permits? If they had any concerns with an application?
Usually we do send it out to other departments if we do have specific concerns. I believe in this case, Joe Jinowitz reviewed this application, and I do not think that he sent it out to any departments for any concerns that he had with regard to the
Okay,
development.
so on the surface planning, the planning office didn't have any large issues or concerns that they felt needed that extra information from
Not from
the
the
other
other
departments?
departments, no.
Okay.
I think the only issue that he may have talked to engineering about was the granite curbing. That he mentioned in his review.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, maybe to you, is it allowable to ask the developer about the discrepancies in the plans, or is that something that, because it will go back to the planning board for further review, it's not necessary to talk about those right now, or?
Well, sure. You can, if you want to ask
Or
Mr.
Attorney
Flood that
Flood.
question.
There
go
is,
right
there
ahead.
is a discrepancy on the width of the building, but that can be reduced down to the 25 feet that's shown on the plan. It's 26 on the architectural plan. Two different parties. So that's the reason, but we can reduce it down. So it would be subject, if you approved it, would be subject to a reduction.
Okay, so you just acknowledge the discrepancies
I
between the
saw it
plan-
tonight myself. It's the first time I saw it.
Okay.
It was 26 and then 25, so.
And again, what we're doing tonight is approving the variance to go ahead with the project, but like Mr. Nyman said, it's still going to be returned to the planning
It
board.
has to go back, as you're aware, any condition that the planning board put on that special permit would have to be incorporated in any variance that this board issued. I think that's under our zoning, so.
So a lot of the questions I had before we had the public hearing tonight were answered in regard to the planning development's comments on things like the chain link fence, the proposed landscaping. Could you tell me again what the issue is with the curbing, the difficulty, and because of
Well,
this?
there is a curve in the road, and if you look at the plan too, I think the travel way is quite a ways off from the end of the dirt, so there's no asphalt in there. So where would you put the curb anyways?
Right. I think, I'm not sure if again, we'd like to hear from the developer, or like you said, Mr. Chairman, we're considering these petitions separately, so I don't know if we would do that. after we're done with Sales Street
If
or
you,
Burnside?
if you wanna have the builder come up here, or the contractor, you can certainly have him come up and
Okay.
ask any questions you want, sure.
He's here.
Go ahead.
So I know Bun and Mary LLC, you've been before us quite a few times, at least since I've been on the board, and you've always been open to any requests or suggestions about landscaping, home design. I think we even had an issue with the basement before, how much of the basement would be exposed. So do you have any comments or questions about anything that the folks for or against the petition have brought up tonight, or any?
Well, no, it's just gonna be the same plans that I'm trying to do on Gate Street. Like, we came back for a 1.5 foot of foundation cannot be exposed. It's the same thing as we're doing on Gate Street.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any questions or comments at this time.
Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions for the developer, actually. The plans do have rather, basic kind of approach here to the architecture, and the site shows a lot of grade change from side to side. Are you familiar with the civil plan and how it was developed? Because it's showing a finished floor of 136, which matches the contour on the, what would we call that? I don't know what that, on the south side, at farther side on the driveways. And then it shows a contour of 132 under the building itself. So that would indicate that the north side of the property would have roughly 5 feet of foundation before finished floor. And the side elevations really do show about a foot of foundation, so they don't really indicate clearly how that 5 feet of basement level that's daylighted is being handled. So do you have an answer to that? It's actually a workable layout, I think, from a design standpoint, because it mitigates the issue with grading, so that you don't need the retaining wall. But it does require you to address the aesthetics of the facade there. And the elevations certainly don't indicate the foundation wall having 5 feet of it exposed. You're indicating about, a foot exposed on your elevation. Did I explain that all right?
Yeah, I kind of understand what you're trying to explain here, the difference of 5 feet, but, TJ was trying to say 36 or 132, instead of difference of 4 or 5 feet, but it's not what we do. The elevation, because the land drops.
Yeah, the land drops,
Yeah,
right.
so this is just, over here.
You're talking on the north side, Dennis, correct?
So in the elevation set that we have, we're talking about the left side elevation.
Yeah.
This one, 132.
And what I'm
It's 4 feet
suggesting
lower.
is that we would have siding
Yep.
extending down beyond the finished floor of the structure to cover approximately 4 feet of the foundation wall, so that we would have no more than the 18 inches of exposed foundation wall on that side.
Yeah, you're right. Because it's gonna be lower. It's gonna be lower,
It's going to be very low, right?
yes.
That also would mean that the front stair is going to be a lot longer accessing that front door, because you placed the front door of the house on the elevation that's roughly 133.
On that side,
Yep.
So, I'm sorry, 131. So you have almost 5 feet of height to climb to get to the front porch. So that's 60 inches, 7-inch risers, so 9 treads, eight risers.
Yeah.
Yep. So you just have a couple things to clean up here. You have a lot more steps to climb to get to the front. That is your intent, I expect, right? Because you're
Yeah.
not doing retaining wall.
Yeah.
So, okay. which I think works well as far as mitigating the issues on the site and would allow you to retain the trees at that property line, since the root structure would be at that 130 elevation most likely, and your basement elevation would be at 120, I don't know, 126, 125, 127? Yeah, so it really is pretty good, I think, as far as trying to save those trees.
Yes.
So I really think that's a good plus. The dimensions do differ quite a bit on the plans, but you have one element that I assume is inaccurate, and that's the bump out for the fireplace.
Yes.
So that's actually eliminated as well,
That's going to be
correct?
eliminated.
Okay. And just lastly, the back deck would have additional steps and risers to get down to that lower elevation, because again, your deck is at 36 and your floor is down at 32, so you have roughly 4 feet of grade change there, so
Yes.
you probably have, 5 risers and 6 treads or something, okay. I do like the density that you have here in the neighborhood with this lot filling in this spot that was reserved as a lot way back when, and it's amazing you've fit a reasonable-sized house, driveway, and green space, and you've satisfied all the zoning requirements except the lot size, which kind of makes you wonder, why is the lot size so large if you can fit a reasonable structure here and the parking and the green space and the setbacks? So it kind of makes you think that this probably is not a bad fit at all. The hill is an issue. I think I met the gentleman who lives next door this morning going up the street. I didn't have trouble seeing your car. I was probably looking for it maybe, but I do know that that hill is a safety issue. For most people, hills are. I mean, hills are something that you worry about when you're driving up them regardless of where you are. And neighborhoods especially where houses are packed and driveways are close. Maybe signage would be appropriate. Often you see signs, blind driveway ahead or something. And maybe that would be something that would help alert people as they're traveling on that street to an issue, not only for this house if it were to go forward, but other houses on that hill. So I think that it could be a successful project. It is packed, it is tight, but the houses are tight like that over there. So one nice thing is that it makes people go slower. I think oftentimes when you have density like that, people aren't driving, 30 miles an hour on a street, especially with a hill like that. So I guess I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to touch on the granite curbing. If you could just, I was reading when you explained that, Mr. Flood, if you could just go through your position on the curbing.
Well, I spoke to our engineer, and
Ah.
there is a curve.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's tough putting them together.
Yeah.
Straight down, because it'd be straight. And also, if you note that the travelway is, I don't know, the distance from the lot line, there's nothing there, just dirt.
So essentially, there's no room for it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I have. Every other question I had concerning property line and the elevation, exactly where I was going with the stair tread and things like that. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Van?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to make a comment that I think overall this project, it's a very well feasible and good project. Anytime where you can improve the neighborhood or a street in the city, it's always a plus. I do agree with some of the speakers and my colleague that little incline hill is a little bit of a blind side, but Mr. McCarthy made a good point. Maybe just more signage would help curve that. But overall, I really think that this petition meets the criteria for a variance. I know one of the speakers commented about the adverse effect on the land or the environment. I think it's not in a flood zone or anything like that, so it wouldn't affect, I think, something like that. That'd be something severe, affecting the land or environment. So overall, I think this is a good project, and it's always a tough thing to get people to support a project. So I think the petitioner did their due diligence, and I think this will work out well for their neighborhood and for the city. So I support this project. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Pam. Okay. So a couple of things. Mr. Flood, do you have any idea, I don't know if you mentioned it, but in relation to 110 that's on the right-hand side, is this home going to sit closer to the street or the same as the current building at 110?
I think it might be closer.
Closer, okay. And you just mentioned something about the curbing. You can't do the curbing because of what?
Well, there's a curve, so if you have straight granite, it's not
Yep.
gonna, it's
Okay.
not gonna come together. Plus,
Yep.
the travelway is quite a distance off the lot line.
Yep.
So maybe
Okay.
part of Mrs. Greenblatt's grass is
Right.
part of the public way, so.
So is there any new fencing going up at all on this lot?
We didn't have any plan. If the board feels it should be up, we could do that, sure.
So how do you handle Sales Street right behind? How is that going to be handled as far as if you got two separate lots? Is somebody putting up a fence?
You gonna put a fence? Yeah,
After we're done, we're gonna put.
go ahead.
After the garage is gonna be built on 99 Sale Street, we're gonna put a fence between Burnside and Sale Street.
Okay. And will the fence be on Sales or on Burnside? Which
It's
lot?
gonna be either or. It's probably gonna be on Burnside.
Probably or will be?
Will be Burnside.
Okay. What type of fence will it be? You give me dimensions and type of fence?
It's gonna be probably PVC, talking about 4 feet
4 feet?
PVC.
Okay, so when Mr. McCarthy was asking questions about the foundation and particularly that left-hand side, it sounds to me like the trees are going to be preserved. Because I have a huge issue with those trees. I'd like to definitely see them preserved for a couple of reasons, but it sounds to me like that we shouldn't be losing any trees at all. Are you in agreement to that?
If it's not touching the house and if it's, we'll keep the trees.
I'm sorry?
If it's not touching the house or the way, we'll keep the trees if it's not touching the house and we'll just clean it
I want to
up.
make sure that we're in agreement on that.
Yeah, we'll save the
Because of-
tree then.
Because I want the city to ensure that that's going to happen. That's a key thing for me. I think those trees need to be there. But if they're not, I need to have some type of notification on it.
Well, he can clean up, but he's gonna keep the trees.
I'll
That's
keep
what,
the
yeah.
tree, but I
Yeah,
have to.
I don't want, I'm asking, is there going to be any removal of any of those trees at all?
I think his concern was
Yep.
that if a branch is hitting the house, he's gonna be able to
No,
cut
I understand that. Trimming is one thing. Removal is something else. Okay. So I, like Mr. Nyman, I didn't go back in the history books or take out old films and stuff. I asked the city to provide the conditions and the review of what happened in 2007, because I wasn't on the board. And one of the things that really came out was the issue about safety. And that's why I asked about the driveway. It seems like back in 2007, when 110 was going up, there was an issue about stacked parking, a regular driveway. And based on the board's working with the petitioner, that's how they ended up doing the archway, that the chairman, Mr. Kazanjian, ended up working out with Mr. Gomes, the traffic engineer. So I just need to understand, what's the difference between today and 2007 as far as the parking? Now, Judy, we didn't receive any comments from traffic or police department or any departments. I know this was already discussed, but specifically the traffic engineer, nobody mentioned anything about the parking, correct?
No, we did not receive any comments regarding parking or traffic.
Okay. So the, Mr. Flood, the driveway, and again, you know, I appreciate the picture, but, you know, I know the neighborhood pretty well. I'm just trying to understand the issues over the hill and the backing out, and I think that was the big concern about people in the neighborhood. And I know there's some people in the neighborhood that were here in 2007 that are not here today. And I've heard from a few people in the neighborhood that get up, but can you just explain, is there a reason why we can't do the parking in front like next door?
Well, I think we'd have to seek an additional variance with the maximum setback. I mean, he's willing to do it if that's the wish of the board, but we'd have to, we need another variance for the, we tried to get this to conform to zoning as it exists today. And as Mr. Wall said, most homes on the street, people back out of the driveway. So that's why we didn't even consider that. As a matter of fact, I didn't see the 2007 tape until this afternoon. So we have that large open space in the back, which we could push that back if that's the wish of the board, but we'd have to amend the request for an additional variance to exceed the maximum setback, if that's acceptable to the board. I mean, we're here, everyone got notice of variances, so
Yep.
I don't think that makes a difference.
Well, my job isn't to create more variances. I'm just, you know, take every single case differently. And I'm just trying to get a feel for if it was imposed back in 2007, here it is 7 years later. Now, again, we didn't receive anything from police department over safety issues, people being hit, motor vehicle accidents. Nothing came before this board, so I have nothing before me that tells me we have an issue in the neighborhood. Again, I'm very familiar with the street. I know the concern I think I have is people that aren't familiar with the neighborhood. And I'm sure they do race. We hear about racing up and down between Middlesex and Princeton Boulevard.
Well-
The street's not any different, so it's got nothing to do with the house going in there. I'm just stating a fact. But because of the hill, the backing out, and because of the blind spot, that's why I wanted to raise that with you, to see if there's any possibility of revising the plan. I'm not trying to make it the same as the house next door.
I think our intention when we first filed, Mr. Bailey, was to conform to zoning where we could, where we couldn't as far as the frontage is concerned.
Yep.
And those issues, but the side yard we did, all of those other issues we did. So that was the purpose. Like I said, the less variances we requested, the better. So, as Mr. Walsh, who's lived there for years, has told me, there's been no problem with other homes backing up.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I don't have any facts before me that says people are backing out and they're causing accidents. I mean, come on, the neighborhood's been established for many years, but the two new homes are fairly new. And I think, fortunately or unfortunately, they're on that hill. And that's the major issue I have with the parking. Go ahead, Dennis.
Through Mr. Chairman, I just want to mention, I'm sorry, through Mr. Chairman, I just want to mention that this morning I noticed the neighbor, direct neighbor, I think there was a car parked in your half circle, which required you to back out into Burnside, which I noticed, and I didn't have trouble seeing it, but even though we went and had the half-circle designed for the neighbor, the half-circle design is used as a second parking spot, and they're backing out onto Burnside. So I just wanted to throw that out there. It didn't seem like it was an issue for me this morning to notice the car backing out on Burnside, but I wasn't driving up Burnside at 30 miles an hour either, so I had time to see you fine, but anyway, what's that worth? I don't know.
Well, and I also think because of the side of the street it's on, because right across the street, there are people with driveways that
Back out.
are pulling in and backing out.
Yep.
Okay. And I know people on Fairgrove have been there for many years, so again, I think it's because of the way the home's being put in and the blind spot. If there's a way for you to work with DPD on revising that. Now, this thing about creating another variance, Judy, you got any comments on that?
I would agree with Attorney Flood that if they were to engineer a circular driveway, it probably would increase that front setback to the point where they would probably need some relief.
Well, anybody on the board have any comments on that? Because to me, safety outweighs variances, but. Nope. Dennis?
As another solution, I've seen this done in other neighborhoods, not necessarily in this one, is there's a spot for the cars to back into in the front yard area before they drive onto Burnside. So the vehicles would basically back in front of the, basically living room windows by the driveway, by the front entry walk, and then drive out onto Burnside. And that would still allow you to have the same curb cut and give you the backing in space on the lot in that front setback.
So possibly like a hammerhead
Hammerhead
turnaround in the back?
In the front of the, well, I was thinking in the front yard, just because that'd be more useful. I think we had that suggestion on Nichols Street, on one of the properties over there, that we did a similar thing.
Talking like a
it
T,
might be-
a T,
yeah,
Dennis?
a T, right. As a way of providing a spot for the vehicle to back into, so they could drive out rather than back out onto Burnside.
Yeah, there is 20 feet there in the front.
It would make a mess of the front yard.
It could be down in front of, because the entrance is on the other side.
I know, exactly,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's
could
just
do
a suggestion.
Okay. Do you have any issues with the suggestion?
No,
Okay.
no, I mean, that
Good.
could be worked out.
Good,
'Cause-
thank you. Okay, and as far as the other comments from the city, I think, Mr. Flood, you mentioned all of those, and you would follow those. I know it's the granite curb was the only one you had
Yeah, probably.
opposition to, but I think by making the change with the driveway, that'll take care of that. So all the chain links, existing chain links are coming down. So green space at all, is there going to be some green space in the rear and possibly, say, along where the trees are?
There's open space in the
Yep.
5,000 square feet in the back, or, no, 1,144 square feet in the
Yep.
back.
Okay,
So that's all going to be grass.
okay, good. And so as far as, my last question was, there was a comment about the height of the structure. In relationship to 110, is it going to be similar in height to 110?
It'll be lower. It's
Lower.
2 stories, be
Yep.
lower.
Okay. All right, any other comments before I talk about conditions? Okay, hearing none. So as far as conditions, things that I have down here, Mr. Flood, you mentioned you're going to be, sir, the public meeting, no, I'm sorry, I can't have you speak.
Point of clarification.
Sir, I can't speak, I'm sorry. Very sorry.
Thank you.
That's okay. Sorry to do it, but those are the rules. You mentioned you're going to be revising your plans based on the discrepancies that were
Right,
mentioned.
yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so those will be resubmitted to DPD.
And on Dennis's suggestions,
Yep.
too.
And not that this gentleman stood up, but the other thing I did mention or notice in 2007 about the construction vehicles, all your construction vehicles will be not on the street at all, is that correct, on the city streets?
Yes.
Okay. Make sure that happens too, again, because of that hill.
Okay.
Figure out a way that's going to be off the street, because that came up in 2007 for this same property.
I'm sure that we
Okay.
could probably work something.
The signage that Dennis mentioned, I don't think that belongs to the petitioner, but if maybe you could speak to somebody at DPD or call a counselor, I guess, and see if we can get some signage up there. It's probably a great idea by Dennis's. Okay, any other comments, any other conditions, any other board members? Yes, Dennis?
Through Mr. Chairman, I think we should have a condition that the trees along the northern property line are to be retained. Thank you.
Okay. All right, anything else? Okay, Could I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for the variance ZB 2014-032 for 100 Burnside for a variance for approval to construct a new single-family home without meeting required lot size, frontage, and lot area per dwelling unit, with the following conditions. That the plans, architectural plans be revised to match the site plan as submitted, that the construction vehicles during construction not be parked on city streets, and that the trees to be retained along the north property line.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call. Approved with conditions.
Approve of conditions.
Approve with conditions.
Approved with conditions.
Approve of conditions.
Member,
So, okay, Ms. Flood, been approved with conditions, yes, sir?
How about the other one? Your two
Okay.
votes.
Well, we're gonna do the, told you, one at a time. There's no Patriots tonight, so no rush.
Member Perrin.
I know.
Approve with conditions.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, our next matter before us is ZB 2014-33, petitions of variance. The applicant is Natalie Greenblatt Revocable Trust, located at 99 Sales Street. Petitioner seeks variance approval to maintain a single-family home without meeting required lot size, frontage, side setback, and lot area per dwelling unit pursuant to Section 5.1 of the zoning ordinance. Mr. Flood.
I think I went over all that already, so.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? 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 Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? 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 That portion of public hearing is closed. Open it up to the board. Mike, any comments?
Mr. Chairman, no comments about the variance to maintain the existing single-family or the building of the new garage.
Thank you. Sean?
Mr. Chairman, same, no comments or questions.
Thank you. Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Is the current garage does exist on the lot, right? The existing garage still exists?
It exists, right.
And the intent is to demolish a garage that is probably 20 feet wide by 22 feet? The
Is it
exact
showing the
dimension-
existing plan?
It seems like the existing garage is a bit larger than what you're proposing.
Proposed, right. I think that the one that exists goes, well, you can see it goes over, closer to the other
Yeah.
property, Mr. Guthrie's property. So
And also, the existing garage is closer to the side yard setback to what you're proposing.
right.
So we're decreasing the size of the existing garage,
Mhm.
and we're moving it further away from the neighbor to create a safer condition.
Yes,
And we're getting a new garage.
new garage. Pretty garage. Mrs. Greenblatt's getting a new garage.
I think that this is a great idea, so I want to
Getting a
support it.
fence, too.
And a new fence. Thank you.
Okay, Gary?
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Van?
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
So is it a single-car garage or a two-car?
I don't have the plan, Bill. It's single.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's currently a two-car.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to a single-car
Smaller.
garage, okay. And we're going to move it in from the lot line from 105.
Mhm.
Sounds correct. Okay, I don't have anything else to add. to that. Okay, could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2014-033 for variance for 99 Sale Street. Petition to seek a variance for approval to maintain a single-family home without meeting the required lot size, frontage, side yard setback, lot area per dwelling unit.
Second the motion.
Okay, so before we, so this, the city talked about a paving permit.
Yeah, we have to get a driveway permit probably to do
Okay.
it. Yeah, we'll get in every permit's required. We'll do
Yep.
that.
Well, I know you've been here enough times. I know you know about the paving permits. Okay. All right, so we have a second, so we have a roll call.
Chairman Bailey,
Approved.
Member Callahan,
Approved.
Member McCarthy,
Approve.
Member Paglia,
Approved.
Member Peck,
Approve.
and Member Perrin.
Approve.
Okay, Ms. Fledgman approved, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you very much to all the
you.
neighbors for coming out this evening. Appreciate it. Yeah, next matter before us is ZB 2014-37, petitions for variance. The applicant is Aurelio Novo of 11 Ionian Circle. The applicant is seeking a variance approval for a development located at 11 Ionian Circle. The proposal consists of constructing an addition and garage on the building without meeting side setback requirements. The proposed project is located in the suburban single-family zoning district and requires variance approval under section 5.1 of the Lowell zoning ordinance. We've received communication from the petitioner. On behalf of my wife and I would like to request a continuance. I am currently still working on the necessary drawings and will make sure to appear on September 22nd. So could I have a motion to continue to September 22nd?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to continue ZB 2014-037, a variance for Iorio Novo at 11 Ionian Circle.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Chairman Bailey,
Approve continuance to September 22nd.
Member Callahan,
Approve continuance to September 27th.
Member McCarthy,
Approve continuance to September 22nd.
Member Paglia,
Continue to September 22nd.
Member Peck,
Continue to September 2nd.
and Member Perrin.
Continue to September 22nd.
Okay, our next matter is under new business, ZB 2014-36, special permit, Nicholas Fotopoulos at 1600 Middlesex Street. The applicant is seeking special permit for the reactivation of an automotive sales operation at 1600 Middlesex Street. The proposed project is in regional retail zoning district and requires a special permit in accordance with section 12.B of the zoning ordinance. We received a written communication from the petitioner requesting a continuance for the meeting, next meetings to, now Judy, he's put October 16th. Next one's the 22nd. Okay, so, so for the record, if the applicant doesn't come before us on the 16th, then I think the board's going to move in a new direction with this. So can I have a motion, please, to continue to October 16th?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2014-036 for a special permit for 1600 Middlesex Street to continue to October 16th.
A second?
I second the motion.
Roll call.
Chairman Bailey,
Continue to October 16th.
Member Callahan,
Continue to October 16th.
Member McCarthy,
Continue to October 16th.
Member Paglia,
Continue to October 16.
Member Peck,
Continue to October 16th.
Member Perrin,
Continue October 16th.
Okay, I'm going to take the order, going to mix up the order here. Is 16 Pine Street here? Is anybody here? Okay. Council, I'm just going to have this petitioner go up next because I believe we just have to move on one thing here. So ZB 2014-44, the special permit and variance. The applicant is Joshi Medical Services, PC, property located at 16 Pine Street. Petition special permit for illuminated sign pursuant to section 6.329D of the zoning ordinance. Good evening, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I've had better nights, but go ahead. You want to introduce yourself, please?
Certainly. My name is Kumkum Dilwali. I'm the Director of Operations of Joshi Medical, which includes CBC Medical and Walk-in Center,
Okay.
and Billerica Medical.
Yep. So before I ask you to start, Judy, so this location's, the sign has already been approved, they're only here for the illumination?
yes, there currently is a sign, and that sign was approved. So
Right.
the sign does exist, and the request is for an illuminated sign.
Okay, so that's the only purpose that they're here for?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
That's what I want to make sure of. So is that why you're here this evening?
Yes, sir.
Anything else you want to tell me about illuminating your sign?
What would you like to know? We won't have it flashing. We
Never
won't
ask
have
an
it in
open-ended
pink.
question, yeah. No, I'm sorry. Is there anything you'd like to tell us?
About the sign?
Sure.
Basically, well, we're a medical clinic, and we've
Yep.
not been open historically late evening hours or weekends, and we'd like to be, well, weekends, if it's day, it doesn't matter anyway. But given that we've added the walk-in center part of this, we want to make sure it's accessible to people who, because a lot of the Cambodian population that comes there will walk right to the clinic. So we want to make sure it's clearly visible from a distance.
Right.
And our landlord sign is directly above. That is lit, but the light isn't enough to show on ours. So we figure we need some light of our own. So given that the winter's going to be coming and it'll get darker sooner, we'd like to make sure we can serve our patients better. That's
Great.
all.
Great, thank you. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor, hearing none? That portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? Opposition, hearing none? That portion of public hearing is closed. I'm going to go to the board. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I just have a quick question that you probably wouldn't be able to answer, but maybe you have had discussions with the landlord about the signs on the walls of the building. When I went by the site, it's kind of those signs that, I think there's 18 slots for different businesses that probably were there before you've expanded into the building. So I don't know if just maybe as a suggestion for something you might want to talk to the landlord about, because I think probably 2/3 of the slots on those old large wall signs are empty because there's now only 5 or 6 businesses in the building. And in all honesty, the signs are really ugly. And again, it's not anything that you could probably do, but it maybe as a suggestion to the landlord to do something about those.
We'll certainly
I don't
bring
think
that
the
up with
board
him.
has any authority to talk to the landlord about those signs, but
You have a point. We did ask him which of the many fonts did he want our sign to be. And so we just wanted it to look professional and I think, originally intended, but I think some of the tenants in between put different type font signage.
Yeah, again, I have no issue with your sign or illuminating it, just those signs that are on two different walls of the building as you come in or out of Couple Square are, I know it's not a technical term, Dennis, but I think the signs are ugly, so, but that's all, thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'll let Lou know about that.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I share some of the sentiments of my colleague. The sign is actually really nice, too, and,
Thank you.
so I have no other comments or questions. so.
Thank you. Dennis?
I agree. I think the sign is a nice sign, but could you just tell me what the color scheme is?
Yes, the color is blue and teal. It's, there's a navy blue, but the teal, let me see. I should have brought something in color. It's basically blue with the light teal, and it's got a white background.
White background. Okay.
And it wouldn't be very bright. It's an LED sign, so it'll be just lit just enough so it can be seen, but not that it splashes all over the place.
Wonderful. And it aligns with the sign above it?
Yes,
Yep,
yes, correct.
terrific.
And it's not bigger than the landlord's sign.
No, it seems to, you always want it to be attached, so it'd be a continuation of that, but it looks great. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. We
Thank you,
wanted
Dick.
it to be consistent with
Yeah.
the look and feel of the sign directly above, and so that's what,
I think you've done that.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Gary?
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Van?
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, the only last thing I'll mention is, I believe in the package, it talked about your hours illumination. That's been addressed, so you're going to take care of that, I guess, with the system. All right, could I have a motion, please?
Through Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2014-044 for a special permit and variance for, I'm sorry, for a special permit for 16 Pine Street for illuminated sign.
Second?
Second?
Roll call?
Chairman Bailey,
Approved.
Member Callahan,
Approved.
Member McCarthy,
Approve?
Member Paglia,
Approved.
Member Peck,
Approve.
Member Perrin.
Approve.
Okay, you've been approved, and I saw the story in the paper about the opening. Wish you the best of luck with the business, and have a good evening.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the members of the
Yep.
board.
Okay,
Good evening.
thank you. Okay, our next matter is ZB 2014-42. The petitions of variance. The applicant is Kyung Realty Trust, 26 Wood Street. Petition to demolish an existing residential building in order to put an addition onto an existing dental business and expand an existing parking lot from 8 to 23 spaces without meeting landscape requirements in accordance with Section 5.1, 6.19, and 6.5 of the zoning ordinance. Good evening, Councilor. How are you, sir?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Attorney John Cox, 755 Dutton Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. I represent the petitioner. To just kind of, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pass out some photographs which may help the board.
Thank you very much.
King Realty Trust owns two adjoining pieces of property on Wood Street. And the photograph that I just passed out to you, you can see to the left the corner of a new building, which is a current building that currently stands on Wood Street. Currently has a dental business in that business, and that building is 65 by 55. The home that you're looking at, the two-family gray structure, is also on the adjoining piece of property, which is owned by the petitioner. This house is more than 75 years old, and this house will be raised. This house will be demolished to put a 30 by 55 square foot addition on the building you can see in the picture, the existing commercial space. What we would requesting from this board are 3 variances pertaining to the buffering zone in the back of the building. Specifically, variances from section 5.1, 6.19, and 6.5 of the zoning ordinance. 5.1 pertains to the the minimum rear setback. Back 7 or 8 years ago, when these people bought the property which currently has the new building on it, they were granted apparently a variance from this board from the required 40-foot minimum rear setback to 25 feet. That is currently how the building is set up in the rear, and what this variance would allow is to continue that line onto the adjoining piece of property where the new building would be. The next variance requested is 6.1.9, which pertains to trees in the parking area. Currently on the proposed plan, there are 3. They are shown near the front of Wood Street. And we were at the planning board last week. The planning board, as a condition of their approval, the site plan approval, has required that we plant several new trees to continue the current streetscape of Wood Street. So we will do that. We will plant and work with DPD and the city as to what types of trees they want on that strip in front of the existing building, and if possible, it'd be mostly in front of the existing building, because the parking entrance will come down more to where the addition will be. And the third variance is 6.5 pertaining to the landscaping. I believe it's required. The requirement is a 10-foot buffer, and we request and show on the plan in the rear a 5-foot buffer. In that buffer, we will work with the city as what type of landscaping they would want in that buffer. Again, we would request these variances to make this a doable project. The only real issue I think that came up with the planning board was there are several issues that we dealt with, clearly, but the sidewalk issue, this would require a new sidewalk. I know that a new sidewalk was just installed there a couple of months ago. As part of our proposal, we would install a completely new sidewalk in front of the property. And one of the conditions the planning board put on was that we petition the city for a sidewalk permit, which obviously we will do. There was a list of things, I think 29 things, that the city engineer had sent us comments, which we have worked with and really have no problem with any of them. Again, one of the major things was the sidewalk. There's also some things about existing retaining walls. There was a note on the existing plan that the retaining wall would be buried. They've asked us to change that note to say the existing retaining wall will be totally removed. So we will do that, as well as some calculations that Ron Close, the engineer who is here, has agreed to work with the city engineer on. So, clearly we think it's a good project. It's a project that would fit good in that area. It would also cut the driveways on Wood Street from currently 3 down to 1. It will increase taxes for the city from a not dilapidated, but an old 2-family home to a commercial use. And obviously a new sidewalk will be installed. And it's we think a good project, and hope that this board will allow these variances.
So we're going to raise the 2-family, extend the building out, and will that continue to be a dental business? Is that the plan?
Correct. The building will be the exact same material. We don't know if the business is going to expand or not. We hope it does, But if it doesn't, then we'll certainly find another commercial use for that new space. Also, the parking spaces will be increased from 8 to 23 on the site.
Yeah, I guess one of the things was, so this already went to the planning board, so we're pretty much entertaining just variances for relief. We didn't receive the parking plan per se, we didn't receive anything like that, correct? I don't believe I saw anything, but,
As far as comments?
no, as far as the layout of with the new structure. I know they're saying they're going from 8 to 23, so.
No, the planning board did not have any specific comments with regard to the layout of the parking.
Yep, okay. So I know one of my favorite subjects, dumpsters. I know when I visited the current site, I saw where the current dumpster is down and back there, and I saw how the parking layout was. And the dumpster wasn't screened, those type of issues. Now, was that addressed with the planning board?
Yes. As a matter of fact, one of the only abutter that showed up wasn't in opposition, but was the person whose home you can see to the far right on the picture. The owner showed up and was concerned about could they have a fence on the retaining wall between this property and their property, which we had agreed to, and also if we could push back the dumpster as far back as we could behind what will be the new building, which we've agreed to as well.
Okay.
And that'll all be screened and everything.
And did they talk about exciting stuff like snow storage and snow removal?
There won't be any snow storage on site. It'll all be removed.
Okay, great. Okay, anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you,
Okay,
gentlemen.
very good. All right, I'm going to open it up to the public. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. To open it up to the board, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a comment and one question, I guess. The question first, because I have conflicting information about the retaining wall. So I have one memo saying that a fence will be installed above the retaining wall. Then the engineer had comments about the plan having loam and seed in the retaining walls if planting was going to be done there. And then you're saying that the planning board suggested that the retaining wall be buried? Is that? So I'm just trying to wrap my head around the retaining wall.
Right.
Which three options, I guess?
The first thing that we talked about was there's a note on the plan pertaining to the existing retaining wall.
Okay.
That would be buried. The engineer wanted to have that removed, and we will do that. The existing retaining wall. Now we go to the new retaining wall, which will be constructed between the new site and the adjoining property here on the woman we talked about. The owner of the adjoining site wanted a fence on top of the retaining wall, which we have agreed to do. And that's a condition of the site plan approval.
Okay, great, and that makes sense. I mean, although that area continues to expand commercially, there are still a couple of homes between this property and the convenience store at the Princeton Boulevard and Wood Street corner, so.
Yeah, I think there's at least one, it may be another one next to this one, but there's at least one, right?
Okay, so that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Melanie, one question I guess I have is reviewing the comments from DPD. There was some indication about a freestanding sign that may be installed, but I don't see there wasn't any indication of anything with regards to that. Is that still, has that been worked out, or is that still?
The sidewalk?
Yes, freestanding sign on the sidewalk. It's just said, freestanding sign located to the proximity to the street, but no detail for the proposed sign.
Oh, the sign, okay.
Is that still in the process, or is that?
We said we'll work with the city on the signage and what they wanted and the lighting for the signage and whatever else, so.
Okay, because I didn't see it from the plans there anyways, I'm just wondering.
Yeah, we've met with the city at least twice, and with DPD, and they've been, very, very helpful, obviously, and we will continue to work with them to iron out these other issues.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's fine, thank you.
Thank you. Dennis?
Through Mr. Chairman, I really like to see businesses expand in the city, and this is a great corridor to see that happen in, I think, and especially to solve parking and the number of curb cuts that come out onto this busy way. I think this is a great solution for that. It's a win-win. Although we are losing some residential, I think that residential here is not always the best spot for it. I think that it can be handled more successfully in better spots than this. And especially, we're going to be improving the streetscape. We're going to be adding sidewalk, and we're going to be adding street trees along that street area. A nice win. The materials you said are going to be the same materials that currently are on the existing. So the brick is going to wrap the new facade with the shingle roof and the glass storefront. Is that correct? So the materials on the structure itself, you said, are going to match the existing structure, and that's already there on the that you're adding to. So it'll be a brick material with the shingle roof. Great.
Exactly the same as the
Nice quality. Good, good. I look forward to the success of this project. Nice project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, again, anytime we move in the direction of new buildings and commercial structure and increased parking on that busy byway is always a positive thing. I wish you the best of luck with your project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Van?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I just want to echo the same comments of my colleagues. I think this is a great project. This project is in a great location in this kind of business district, retail on Wood Street and Middlesex. Putting a new sidewalk, that's gonna do amazing things for like safety issues and increasing overall parking. So overall, I think this is a good project, and I wish the petitioner well.
Okay. Thank you, Van. How many employees are there actually on site today? Number of employees?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
How many employees? Approximately 10.
10.
Currently, and obviously, we would expect that's going to be increased by approximately half the size, so we expect a few more employees, clearly.
Yep, yep. No, I can echo what the rest of the board is saying, that whole strip there, slowly but surely is being built up. I think this gentleman might have been involved with a few projects on that street. This is a very nice-looking building, and to Dennis's point, it's good to see an existing business growing. And looks like if Planning Board has done their due diligence and review, and now it's come before us, I believe based on what's been submitted this evening, the relief that's being requested, the prerequisites have been met, and I really don't have any other comments or questions, and I'd like a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, a quick question, just to follow up on what Sean was asking about the sign. Wouldn't that, if they were going to erect a sign, it would have to come back to us in a separate application anyway, right?
Well, I'll leave that to DPD.
Well, yes, they will have to apply for a sign permit, and then depending on what they apply for, whether it needs relief, we would determine that.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, have a motion, please.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2014-042 for a variance for 26 Wood Street to demolish an existing residential building in order to put an addition onto an existing dental business and expand the existing parking lot from 8 to 23 spaces without meeting landscaping requirements in accordance with Section 5.1, 6.1.9, and 6.5 of the zoning ordinance.
Have a second?
Second the motion.
Roll call?
Chairman Bailey?
Approved.
Member Callahan?
Approved.
Member McCarthy?
Approve.
Member Paglia?
Approved.
Member Peck?
Approve.
Member Perrin?
Approve.
Hey, Mr. Cox, been approved. Wish you best of luck.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next matter before us is ZB 2014-43, petitions of special permit and variance. The applicant is Butler School, LLC, property located at 812 Gorham Street, and the petition is one special permit, retail use greater than 5,000 square feet pursuant to section 12.4B of the zoning ordinance, and variances, maximum front yard setback, maximum curb cut width, minimum off-street parking setback, and minimum width of the planted buffer from lot line and building pursuant to section 5.1, 6.11, 6.5, and 6.14 of the zoning ordinance. I thought this was maybe a meeting of the Bar Association this evening. I've never seen so many lawyers in one evening show up here.
Well, we hope we're
So
doing a
with
good
that,
job.
with that said, Counselor?
Chairman Bailey, Attorney George Theodoro, 133 Market Street, representing the applicant, the Butler School, LLC. These are actually, there are two applications which all request for the same relief. There are two separate lots. A little bit of the background of this development. It started in 2012 as a request for proposals from the city of Lowell with respect to the Butler School on Gorham Street. It was surplus property and put out for bid. The applicant, the Butler School LLC, was the successful bidder. And part of that, in choosing the Butler School LLC, one of the major factors was that the applicant offered to build a public road through the middle of the development. Again, this is important in that it is going to be pervious pavement, all the drainage is contained on site. And one of the significant factors of this is that the roadway through the middle of this project is needed for the area in connecting Gorham Street through the development past Livingston Street to Newhall Street on the other side. And the proposed name of this street is going to be the Newhall Street Extension. And with this development, putting the public road through the middle of this lot, it posed specific challenges as to how this was going to be developed. It was proposed and through the planning board that we would develop this into two separate lots, and we received site plan approval for the two lots, as well as site plan approval and a subdivision plan approval for it. Now, with respect to the location of the buildings on the site and the negotiations that we've had with National Realtors, those pose specific challenges. The roadway was fixed, and how we would place the buildings on the site and the size were predicated by the requirements of our tenants, and they're named on there, the two national tenants that we have, Dollar Tree and O'Reilly Auto Parts. We have worked diligently with DPD over the last year, and if I could back up a little bit on this, through the RFP process from 2012, the property was purchased by the applicant through the city council and through a vote in March of 2013. Since that time, the applicant has worked with over a dozen meetings with DPD when we secured some serious negotiations with the tenants over the design review of these buildings. And they've met with them over and over again, and adapting the buildings towards what the city wants at greater expense to the applicant and to our client, but to accommodate both the tenant and the city to make this a very, very workable project and a very viable project. This was all done, and as I said, we went through the planning department and received our approvals there. And now we are on the verge of securing leases from two tenants. We've negotiated the leases. One lease can be signed as early as this week, and the other lease for the other applicant is close to being signed as well. Again, this is all conditioned in our obtaining the variances for the project from you, and you can have in your materials letters from Diane Trad in here who goes forward and summarizes the work that we've done with the city in meeting their requests and their design review and development, again, at great expense to our client, and accommodating the city and making this a very, very workable project and provided needed services to the area. Also, specifically with respect to the most recent comments that were made by the zoning board, they came out last week, and two of the proposals that were made, I think in the comments of 3 and 4, they were significant, and they came out and said to reduce the size of the building somewhat, to have a little bit more of a buffer, and to change some of the parking to provide a little bit of the buffer with the areas that abutted the residential community there. We immediately met with the zoning board and DPD, and we met with them and discussed this, that with respect to the specific requirements of the building, that we were focused in on satisfying the tenants and also satisfying the city and the DPD in how we were doing that. However, with respect to the requests that they had for creating some relief for the residents that immediately abutted the property, we went and said we would go ahead and secure, and before we were going to do that with a buffer of some landscape, but we're going to be putting a 6-foot sign over there, a 6-foot fence over there, and an opaque fence over there that would satisfy them, something tastefully done that would be a good buffer for the neighbors. Also, with respect to 2 areas there that they wanted us to change some of the parking, we need all the parking on this site, again, to satisfy the tenants. And however, with respect to 2 areas that they pointed out, we would be happy and be willing to go ahead and designate those areas. And I have to say that the reasons why these areas were pointed out, because the backing up and the turning radius may be a little bit difficult. So we would designate those areas either as compact spaces or specifically allocate those spaces to employees, so they wouldn't be, customers wouldn't be moving in and out of those spaces all day. That would be, the employees would park and they would not move. And with respect to Lot 2, we would go ahead and the areas that along Gorham Street there, we could move a little bit of a green space area that we have there up to give a little bit more of a turning radius. But what you have before you are 2 lots, 1 and 2. Lot 1 has about a 9,100 square foot building, and Lot 2 is about 7,100 square feet. And again, we are very close to securing the national tenants to have them sign the leases. We have letters of intent signed already. We've gone through the specifics of the lease, and they're ready to be signed, all hinging on getting our approvals through the city and getting our requests, our variances from this board. This is a long-term project that we have worked very hard and tirelessly with the city. The building of this roadway through this development is critical to the area in that it connects the Prince Spaghetti building, which did not really have access for vehicles to Gorham Street or to 495. And this is something that the city has encouraged us to go ahead and do. And once again, it also provides needed services, retail services to the community. And we feel that this is a wonderful project to go forward, and it would be a severe hardship to this community and the city if we were not able to obtain the relief requested. If you have any questions with respect to the plan, we have the plan up here before you. You also have some elevations in front of you that were the result of working with DPD and their criteria, and Mr. Hammer is here to go through some of the aspects of the plan.
So in regards to the 2 lots, where the 2, I guess I'll call them major businesses will be in, are you still going with the original sizes, or did you say they were?
No, we're going with the sizes that we have here.
Planning board didn't have an issue with that?
No, they did not.
Okay. All right. Okay, because I as usual with, when you gentlemen come here with, I have a lot of reading to do and a lot of stuff to cross-examine. You must think I have nothing to do except read your information, yeah. No, as you were speaking, you were talking about meeting with the planning board. I was wondering if things were revised after you had officially met.
We did
met
have
with them.
one plan that was revised. We had a modification on it that was a result of a tenant's request.
Okay.
And that went through fine with the planning board.
Mr.
I believe
Hammond.
the only comment that the planning board had in their decision as a condition was to work with DPD with respect to the building of the public way.
Okay, so you're gonna walk us through the site, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Theodore.
As Mr. Theodoro explained, this is a new right-of-way, creating 2 new lots. In this right-of-way, we'll also have a new technology, and it's going to be a porous pavement roadway, which will be the first of its kind in the city, and that'll be entirely here within the roadway itself. There's 2 entrances to each of the lots directly opposite each other. This coming into Lot 1 here, to a series of parking spaces here, of which there's 11, 16 spaces back here, a proposed dumpster area at the rear, a delivery door, and an unloading area. There'll be a plaza in front of the building here, and landscaped areas that are shown in green. There's also going to be 3 individual landscaped areas in front of the building, which will be surrounded by granite planters that are shown in these 3 locations here. The building is 90 by 102 feet. And also there'll be improved sidewalk along here, sidewalk along both sides of the road, and extending here, and accessing the plaza area in front of the building. These striped areas will be proposed crosswalks throughout the project, integrating the walkways to the adjacent parcel across the street from New Hall Street through walkways and crosswalks to connect the buildings, as you can see here and here, and is also to bring sidewalks and crosswalks to the building, which is shown here. The entrance to Lot 1 is going to be expanded. There's going to be a grooved pavement technology utilized in order for the larger vehicles that come in to deliver goods to the store can come into the property, maneuver around, and then exit the property. These roadways a little bit narrower than we typically find, so it's a little tight for the larger vehicles to get in and out of the site. Hence the reason why we're having a wider mouth to the entrance to the project that you typically see. The actual width here will still remain compliant in terms of where the normal vehicles are going to be going out. The remainder will be the grooved pavement, and there'll be signage to that effect as well. Coming into Lot 2, comes in here, a parking area here. There was a specific request that they wanted a concrete pad on these parking spaces in front of the O'Reilly Auto Parts store, so we incorporated that here. Here's 18 spaces here, and an additional 6 around the side here, a dumpster area, and an unloading area here. And landscaping around in the green areas. We have a very detailed landscaping plan that was provided, and we've already had some discussions with the neighbors who would rather have a fence instead of an opaque landscaping buffer but the neighbors have the ability to choose whichever they would like. This building here is 115.3 feet by 62 feet here. And I can answer any questions from the board.
I mean, you've had quite a few meetings with the neighborhood, correct, regarding this whole project?
We've reached out to the neighborhood there, and Mr. King, who owns a large-scale business there, we've met with him and discussed the project with him. He probably owns quite a bit of real estate on Livingston Street there, and he had some concerns, and we met with him early on before we went to the planning board, as it could possibly affect his business, and he was satisfied.
Right. Yeah, that's what I meant. I mean, the project has been pretty well scrutinized, worked on, reviewed. I mean, it's been going on for a while. So the size of the two main, I guess I'll call it main tenants right now, is that what their, how were those sizes actually identified, and why doesn't it fit in with
They have preset requirements
Yeah.
that they're looking for when we get into discussing these and signing, enter into letters of intent with them.
Yep.
So they have prerequisites that they're looking for their size of the building. And this is an outcome of those discussions.
Okay. And Len, yeah, I'm not sure if one of the comments wasn't there something in our notes about the neighborhood area? Was it the buffer around the neighborhood? And that's been addressed by you people, correct?
Yes, it has. That was what Mr. Hammer was talking about, that they would have preferred to have a fence rather than have some of the landscaping that we were going to do, and they preferred to have a fence. And so when we met with DPD last week with respect to the comments, and we'd be doing that to meet their concerns and also the concerns of the neighbors.
Yeah. What type of fencing's going up?
We haven't decided yet. I think it would be dictated by what DPD would like to have and how what it looks like.
Yeah. Fences instead of trees, huh? Wow.
I can say that, there might be a mixture.
Yeah.
But what we're going to do is individually speak with each property owner and have them be able to choose if they wanted a mixture, just landscaping, or just fencing. But it wasn't set as to, that we were going to put up a 6-foot tall
Right.
opaque wall.
Yep.
Some people want to see through because, there's a parking lot nearby, so they may not want that solid buffer.
Yep. Yep. And there's access, people can walk there. I think that was mentioned in the write-up from the neighborhood, so at least we don't have to have more cars traveling there. So there's that capability for people in the neighborhood to actually visit these stores. Yeah.
That is correct. There's the proposed sidewalks that come in right off of Gorham Street. They can walk right down the side of Newhall Street to the other
Or
side.
even coming in from the rear, correct?
On
Yes.
both sides, yes,
There's
there is.
sidewalks here.
Yep. Yep.
And the trucks will not be leaving through the neighborhood. The trucks will be leaving through Gorham Street.
Yep, I remember that being discussed, yeah. We probably want to shoot right out to Connector. Any board members have any questions in regards to, well, Mr. Hammer's up there at this point?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I just have, you have dumpsters and closures. Do you have any plans for snow removal?
There will be some snow storage on the site, and if it gets to the point where it's losing capacity on the site, it'll be removed from the
That'll be
property.
trucked out the same
Yeah.
way through Gorham Street?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Through Mr. Chairman, I was just wondering how site lighting is being handled on the parking area?
So we're going to have 2 street lights, one located here and one located here for Newhall Street extension. And then the site lighting is going to have the lighting out in front of the building, motion sensitive on this side here, and possibly a light here. But the concerns were that they didn't want too much lighting, so we're only doing it against the buildings for right now, and 2 street lights.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, can you just clarify that side, the wall lighting, is that gonna be?
Downward facing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions, Mr. Hammer?
Actually,
Yep, go ahead.
actually, I just have one more. The site drainage, you mentioned the Newhall Street extension is going to be pervious pavement. Is that going to extend into the sites themselves? Is that going to?
It's not. This site has a very unique condition. It's the same grade from here to here. So with the 1% grade that we're able to do, we can balance the porous pavement on the roadway itself. It's nice sandy material beneath us with groundwater down 10 feet below grade, which is a nice condition to have. And then each of the sites are going to be fully recharging and subsurface infiltration systems.
Wow, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, going one more time. Okay, thank you, Mr. Hammer, appreciate it. Anything else you'd like to tell us at this point?
No, I think we've gone over it, given you a good understanding of how long the project's been shaping up and taking place, and we're very close, as I said, to.
You want to see the finish line, right? Yeah, okay.
And that, as in one of the memos that was presented there, we gave you a detailed summary. We've demolished the building, we've done grading over there, we're doing some cleanup work over there now, and is very anxious to get moving to start building the roadway and start working on doing some more of the site work.
Okay, great. Okay, when I open up to the public, anyone here like to speak in favor of the petition? Favor, hearing none. That portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? Opposition. Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Open it up to the board. Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a lot of questions about what that have already been answered in regard to different conditions of the planning board, and especially where you've spoken or met with some of the neighbors. And that was my concern when I walked the site. I guess, like the chairman, I sometimes have a lot of time on my hands, and Labor Day morning, I actually walked the entire site with the original map that you had provided, and it's such a mix of, this is another one of those neighborhoods where there's a vacant lot, there's an abandoned bank-owned home, but there's also a couple of single-family homes in the back on Livingston that are very well-maintained. There's a boat in one property owner's yard with trees and vines growing inside or around the boat itself. There's a sewer service, there's a TV repair business, fire station across the street. So once this is done, I think it's really going to improve that. Obviously, it's an improvement over an abandoned school and a large vacant lot, but I was also pleasantly surprised. Somewhere in your narrative, you mentioned that both of these national retailers really compromised on the minimum size that they would normally use when they're putting in new buildings, new stores. And so my main concern really was just mostly the buffer along Livingston, and you've addressed, or you and the team have addressed that. So I really don't have, I mean, I'm sure we could all go on and on about the project and how long a process it's been, but I really look forward to seeing the finished product, and I think it will be great. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do like the project the way it's been set up. It's very detailed and all right. It's something, actually, that area, I grew up in that area, and it's an area near and dear to me. I went to the old Butler School back in the day, so hated to see it go, but, I mean, time moves on and whatnot, and I really, looking at the detail of how this is spread out, it really looks great, and I'm looking forward to see it.
Very much.
Would you like a condition that one of the bricks from the school be,
Actually, I already, when they were tearing it down, I actually wound up taking a couple of bricks when they were breaking it down, so, thank you.
guess we can't condition it. All right, Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to express how great a project this really, at least on paper, it's amazing what you've accomplished with this site, because I don't think anyone had envisioned as much mileage as you've been able to get in an urban location, especially this one. National chains, usually they're more of a suburban lot than an urban lot. You've got great access with this street running through. You've got the best technology with the pervious pavement. You've got pedestrian access, which everyone wants now in the urban section. And you've got plenty of parking. I'm amazed at how much you've got here.
Oh, thank you.
It's pretty tremendous. Nice job.
Thank you, Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, councilors, I'd like to thank you for the project you're doing over in that area. It's a gateway to the city, coming from the backside of Chelmsford, if you will. It's off the connector. It enhances the neighborhood. Bringing national business to our community is something that bodes well. We've seen it over at the plaza on Plain Street. As always, you're very well prepared, and your information and the new technology that you're bringing, I hope it sets the tone for new developments coming into the city, and they follow the lead here, so I wish you the best of luck over there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary. Van?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I just want to echo the sentiments of my colleagues. I think this is a great project. You know, I live about a 5-minute walk from this project, and I think it's going to improve the neighborhood vastly, and so I wish them well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, I agree with, I know the comments from the city, when I was asking about the size of the buildings, I know there was some comments regarding landscaping, and but I think I have to agree with my board members. If I look at the finished product here, I think the relief that, and it looks like we're talking about relief on 4 different sections, I believe through a lot of hard work, and especially working with the city, I think you've been able to achieve, as I mentioned, the finish line here. I don't see any issues at all. I like how you've worked with the neighborhood, especially. I know other boards have been involved in this, but I think as far as meeting the relief that you need, and also in regards to the special permit, we're gonna have to take 2 separate votes here, one for the special permit and one for the variance.
Yes.
Or variances,
Yes.
I should say. Okay. I guess my last comment would be, I don't know when you plan on signing up with Dollar Tree, but I don't know if you're following the business world, but the dollar people are all trying to buy out one another, so you might want to put dollar with a question mark after that, because you don't know what's going to happen.
But Chairman, that's why
Yep.
we have tenant signage at the top.
Well, okay. So you're trying to top the chairman, okay. Yeah, okay. Any other comments, or I don't think I heard anything about conditions. Anybody have anything else they want to add? No? Okay.
Actually, if I may, Mr. Chairman, sorry. Plus
There's always one that's got to jump in. Yep.
One comment and one question. I do want to comment, we've all been talking about national chains, and although we're always focused on growing local businesses as much as we can, I think for whatever reason, these 2 businesses in particular, although they're national chains, I think would fit in well in this neighborhood. Across the street, there are a number of different types of used car lots, auto body shops, even some, I think, light manufacturing down near the creek or the river, not the river, but the creek that's there. And also, with Dollar Tree, again, that's an area of the city that it will serve a lot of mixed income users. There's some new condo developments on the other side of Spaghettiville Bridge, but there's also some older multifamily units and rental properties that I think the residents there will also be served by that building, those 2 companies. And I don't think they will interfere with the small businesses that are in that area because they're serving different people and customers. So the other question I had, you mentioned, sorry, Mr. Chairman, I'm almost out of breath, but you did mention that we have been out on the site doing some final work. You didn't mean yourself and Attorney Eliades, but...
No, we haven't.
Okay. People with hard hats, and they've been out on the site picking up.
And expertise.
Okay, thank you.
All right, could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2014-043 for a special permit for 812 Gorham Street for retail use greater than 5,000 square feet.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Chairman Bailey?
Approved.
Member Callahan?
Approved.
Member McCarthy?
Approved.
Member Paglia?
Approved.
Member Peck?
Approve.
Member Perrin?
Approved.
Okay, could I have a motion on the variances, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2014-043 for a variance for the applicant Butler School at 812 Gorham Street. Variances for the maximum front yard setback, maximum curb cut width, minimum off-street parking setback, and minimum width of planted buffer from lot line and building.
Could I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Chairman Bailey?
Approved.
Member Callahan?
Approved.
Member McCarthy?
Approve.
Member Paglia?
Approved.
Member Peck?
Approve.
Member Perrin?
Approved.
Hey, gentlemen, you've been approved. Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. If you want to stay there, I'm gonna take one more matter out of order so I can move these. Oh, Jesus. Second thoughts. Yeah, I'm just going to take the agenda slightly out of order. See if I can get Mr. Eliades to say 10 words or less. Okay. Oh, okay. Great. More reading material. Great. Okay, next matter is going to be under other business. Is an amendment request for the following previously approved item. Case number 7084, petitions of variance. Applicant was Princeton West Kyle LLC, property located at 35 Kyle Street. Petition request to waive parking requirements for the construction of additional apartments at 35 Kyle Street. So I guess the first thing will be, we know who you are. So is it Kyle with a C or Kyle with a K?
It's, you know what, I'm going with the assessors on this one and say with a C.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
And speaking of that,
yeah, here we go.
Of course, you know, of course, that it took me an awful lot, Mr. Chairman, to hold back for a couple of remarks here. And having, by the way, heard so much for the last 6 or 8 weeks about Arthur T. and Arthur S., George and I have decided to become George E. and George T. So in the future, you can just refer to us that way, by the way.
Okay.
Anyway, quickly, the Princeton property folks, I think, are probably some of the leading corporate people in the city. Their apartments are always immaculate. Everything is always done so well. They have this one place right across from their corporate headquarters. I think you're all familiar with it. It's Carl Street is right behind the corporate headquarters on West 5th Street. This one building has 29 units, plus it had a janitorial unit in it. Those days are gone. Everything's mobile with the janitor system, et cetera. So they just want to convert that one part of the property, and you'll see a plan in the booklet. I tried to get that out to a residential. I spoke to Joe about this initially, and I said, you know, it's a pretty simple proposition. We're not really looking for a variance per se, but in 2001, we had the variance from the parking situation to put in 9 units at that time, 9 additional units, and that was granted. The big thing that we have there, the huge advantage that we have there, is that the property itself has 34 parking spaces on it. But the corporate headquarters across the street has 50 additional parking spaces, all available, certainly in the evening for that. For your information, it's in the 2001 decision, but just by way of background, there are 10 one-bedroom and 19 two-bedroom right now units in it. This would make the 11th one-bedroom. It's a small 852-foot area. It's not going to make any difference on the parking. And so it turns out that after discussing this with Joe, we thought the best thing would be just to seek a modification of that 2001 decision rather than having to go through the whole process otherwise. And that's my story. That's as brief as I've ever been, Mr. Chairman.
Well, better write the date down. Maybe I can keep you to that every time I see you here, right? Okay. Well, I think you did a good job explaining. I don't think anybody in this current board was around here in 2001. Okay, so as far as what we're doing this evening, are we taking a vote just to modify a previous decision on January 23rd, 2001?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Do we need to open this up to the public at all? I don't believe so, correct? Is that all right with you, Mr. Ladies?
Fine. Yeah. I think that's
okay.
exactly
Any questions by any of the board members before we move? Okay.
I just have one. I'm struggling. What is the address of this? The address of the building?
I'm sorry.
What is the address?
35, Carl.
Okay, and there's a building called 39 Carl or Carlton or Carl?
That is the most incredible part of looking, and I shouldn't say this in public, but I have more difficulty looking at the assessor's site in terms of address numbers.
I just want to make sure I have the right building.
It's very confusing. And in fact, they even actually mark the building 39 and have carry it as a 35
Thank
address.
you. Okay.
Same
I'm
building.
not confused anymore.
Same building.
Okay.
Okay.
Accept the modification. Yeah, that's all. Okay, could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for variance for Princeton Properties at 35 Carl Street to modify the zoning approval granted on January 3rd, 2001.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Chairman Bailey?
Approved.
Chairman Member Callahan?
Approved.
Member McCarthy?
Approve?
Member Paglia?
Approved.
Member Peck?
Approve.
And Member Perrin?
Approved.
Okay, Mr. Ladies.
Thank you all very much.
I mean, George E., thank you. Thank you. Huh? George E. George E. and George T. Georgie. Okay, our next matter before us is ZB 2014-45. The applicant is Duville Leadership Solutions. Property located at 1085 Varnum Ave. Petition for construction of a 13,321 square foot building for adult daycare services with associated parking, utilities, and drop-off area as a part of the Duville Senior Care Facilities. Pursuant to Section 4.2, 5.1, 5.32, and Article 12 of the zoning ordinance. Good evening, good to see you again.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. And thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to speak about our project that's upcoming. I know you're all very familiar with Duville, that we're sponsored by the Sisters of Charity of Ottawa, that our mission is reaching out in the Catholic tradition to people who are elders, who are vulnerable and in need. The project that we're here to speak about tonight is actually going to be with a long-term tenant. And we're very happy that we're going to be welcoming to our campus Fallon Health. You may be familiar with Fallon Health. They're another nonprofit organization, quite an extensive history and wonderful track record. And so this 13,000 square foot building is going to be housing their non-residential program. It will involve elders in need. The vast majority of people who will be attending this will be low-income seniors, although it's not limited to low-income seniors. They will arrive during the day by van, and the peak hours will be between approximately 10 a.m. and about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There will also at any given time be about 30 staff members who will be there, and the parking that you see on the plan will accommodate the staff members as well. I think it's important to note that we have spoken about this with the Pawtucketville Citizens Group, although at that time we did not mention the name of the tenant because of where we were with that agreement process. But we did describe the program as well as we are describing tonight. And so what I'd like to do now is to introduce our civil engineer, John Noonan, who I'm sure you're very familiar with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. John Noonan with Noonan McDowell, Land Surveyors and Civil Engineers. Earlier this spring, we were before you in order to obtain variances and a special permit for the construction of assisted living for seniors and for memory care. And just to give you a recap as to where we're located, Barnum Ave, the main campus of Duville, TCU building here, and the access drive. So in the spring, on this particular parcel...
Excuse me, can I ask you, can you just pull them, a little bit closer, just so people are, the thousands that are at home listening, if they could hear your presentation. Great, thank you.
In the spring, you had given us 2 variances. One was for unit density from 1 to 10,000 to 1 to 7,900. And the other variance was for a tunnel so we could connect this building to our proposed building so we could provide the daycare services, food, and laundry services from the main campus for the new building. And there was also a special permit to extend the non-conforming use. So we had obtained your approvals from that. We obtained the site plan approval with the planning board, and that project is currently under construction. So this is what that project had looked like. Here's the building that you had approved, the access driveway, and the parking lot. On the original approval, the parking lot ended here and here. That was the limit of the original approval from the springtime. What we're currently proposing today is to request an extension of the non-conforming use so we can construct a 13,000 square foot elder care day services in this location. So what we're proposing to do is expand the parking lot in this location here and provide a drop-off area for the main entrance, the building, and some patio areas for outdoor recreational use for the people who will be going there during the day. The proposed building and the added parking lot will be using the same drainage system as was previously approved. So we had 2 leaching areas, one up above that we were using for the roof, one down below which collected the site. So they have been expanded a little bit to accommodate the increase in flow. The sewer service would be obtained from an existing sewer manhole that terminates this current location and will run across and connect to the building. Our water service will also connect to an existing water stub here, follow the sewer, and connect to the utility room in the rear with the, for fire protection, the service line, and then be a fire hydrant out front, which Siamese in the building for fire protection use. The gas will run from this location all the way to the existing line that ends at this location. This is our upper leaching area for the roof for both buildings, and this is the lower area for the site runoff for the entire site, separate from the buildings. The review comments that we got back from the departments, the first was from the fire department, which they requested that we increase the width of the drop-off from 17 to 20. So in doing that, we basically pushed the building back 3 feet. We did have a 3-foot green strip along the front. We did want to maintain that, so we just pushed the building back 3 feet to allow for the 20 feet. There were some concerns about turning movements for the engine and the ladder. We went out, measured those, ran through the AutoCAD program, and there is sufficient width and turning radius for both those vehicles to go up to the front main entrance if it's necessary. And the canopy height has been raised to 14 feet to also allow them to go under it. The other concern that was brought forward was by the Board of Health, Health Services, and they requested that we show a future dumpster area in this location, which we did add to the site plan. We're not proposing it, but they would like to have seen something on the plan, so we put it on the plan. So if we did, for some reason, have to have a dumpster, there'd be a location for it. But here again, for this building, all the services for trash, food, cleaning will be handled by the main building. So there is no need for out storage of waste product. And the other change in our first meeting with the Conservation Commission, even though our building was 85 feet from the wetland, and the minimum that's allowed by zoning is 50, they requested that we also have no activity within 50 feet as well, not just the building. So what we did was we modified the edge of the patio, angled it, and then just placed a 1-to-1 rock slope in that location so we could keep any activity outside of the 50-foot area. This was the only area that we were close to the 50-foot line. That's basically the changes that we've made since it was originally submitted to you for your review.
So the Conservation Commission, the concerns that they had, you were able to work a solution with them?
That's correct.
So, okay, so the footprint of the building is fine where it's located, so they're all set?
No, I'm sorry,
Sure.
Matt Kittner,
Sure.
Director of Facilities. Actually, we've gone, in front of the Conservation
Yep.
once, and we're due to go back again on Wednesday. So they haven't yet approved the changes that we've made.
Right.
Their concerns was to stay out of the 50-foot zone, with any disturbance, which we've done. So we
Right.
expect that they will be satisfied with our changes, our updates in the plan.
So I'll just include that as one of our conditions when we get to that point anyways. Okay, thank you. And it's interesting you mentioned the health department. It's the first time I've heard the health department involved with the dumpsters. That's usually my big thing. Maybe because I was on the Board of Health at one time. Were they talking about regular refuse in there?
I don't know that it was
medical?
I'm not sure it was the health department. It was the gentleman that's in charge of solid waste.
Oh, okay.
That's the gentleman we met with.
Yep,
And
okay.
he just was concerned that we didn't have a dumpster at all. And I explained to him that we intend on bringing all of our waste back to the main dumpster, which is a
Yep.
large-scale compacting type dumpster, as well as a recycling dumpster.
Yep.
And he said, well, just in case, if you needed to put one, where would you put it?
Yep.
So we showed a proposed, if we needed it, we would put it.
Yeah, he's not the health department, but now I understand that would have been Gunther, right?
Gunther, right.
Yep. So that was a field visit by, so Gunther's in charge of,
I believe solid waste recycling?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so he represents one of the departments that went out and did his due diligence. That's good. Yeah, because I didn't believe it was the health
thought it was.
department. And the parking area, the additional parking that you put in, I think it was 30 spaces?
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
basically.
Is that going to be designated like, staff parking only, or is that just overflow? I'll call it overflow.
Okay, so we have, similar, with the lease agreement, they had a requirement of certain spaces they expected to have in the lease. So we have outlined, spaces that will be reserved for them.
Okay, so there'll be excuse me, they'll be designated, labeled, striped, or
Correct.
some type of...
Yeah.
And is that 30, is that, okay, maybe I didn't ask the question correctly. Is that for, so the employees there will be part of Fallon? They'll be Fallon employees, correct? Right. So is that for staff parking and visitor, I'll call it visitor parking?
Yes, for both their staff parking and their visitor parking.
Okay.
But we wouldn't expect they would have a lot of visitors. Most of their clients would be dropped off by vans in the daytime.
Because we're talking about 4 hours of operation, that's all what, oh, I'm sorry.
No, the hours of operation will be, those 4 hours I mentioned would be the peak hours in
Peak,
terms
I'm
of, yeah, correct. So they would be open during business hours.
It'll be like 8 to 4 or 8 to 5?
Pretty
something
much,
like
exactly, right.
that. Okay, okay. All right. Well, I used to get labeled for that when I was in elementary school, not paying attention and capable of better work and all that other stuff. Okay, yeah, I know. I don't even know why I mention these things, right? It's a long night. Okay. I don't, any other questions for these gentlemen while they're up there, and then we'll still follow procedure, but Dennis?
I don't know if it was clear, the 30 parking spaces that were added, did you say that those were going to be dedicated in that location to the Fallon Health employees and visitors?
Actually, not, it's, you know, more or less these ones along their front.
It is, okay.
And those, and those, I believe, then the rest are open or shared parking between the Duville population, the people that would be coming to this building,
Okay.
as well as existing employees that, you know, may need to overflow into that lot.
So there'll be 30 spaces added, and within those spaces that you have available, they'll be marked as designated spaces for the Fallon Health
Correct.
employees and visitors. Okay.
Okay, any other questions for these gentlemen while they're up there? Okay. All right, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add for your presentation at this point, or anybody from your group?
We actually went in front of planning board last Thursday. We were last at the planning board meeting as well. So that was a late night, but they were, there was no conditions. They were happy with the project.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll state for the record, I don't set the agenda, so you can talk to somebody else about that. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? Favor, favor. Hearing none. That portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? Opposition, opposition. Hearing none. That portion of public hearing is closed. Open it up to the board. Mike?
No questions, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick, I guess, couple of comments or observations. This seems to be a growing trend in senior care. There's a facility on Industrial Avenue that's a adult senior day program or daycare. There's one on Bridge Street downtown. So it looks like this will maybe complement another neighborhood, although I don't know how Fallon will necessarily market the services. But it seems to be part of a growing trend to also to complement, although we have a very highly regarded senior center, I think sometimes it's bursting at the seams, and so these other facilities maybe help in that regard too. So, but as far as the project itself, I don't have any questions. So,
Okay, thank you. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Dennis?
Well, I just want to say that this is quick. I mean, I think when you were here last, I asked what future buildings, and you're back so soon. This is great. It's good to see, and this is a great use, I think, for this particular site and population that you have here. So how many people can be served in this facility? I mean, what's the potential population that you expect to have here?
And of course, I'm going to speak very globally because this is a Fallon project. This is not our project per se. And also, just want to clarify that although Adult Day is a component, they are waiting for particular federal and state approvals. So in terms of the program is going to be a little bit different than your typical Adult Day, but pending those approvals, can't get into too much more detail. But in terms of how many seniors would be expected to be served by there, probably about 100, although not people coming every day, and then there are those peak times.
And then on top of that, 100 people, you're saying there's 30 employees or so?
Correct.
Okay.
Right, at any given time, there should be about 30 employees there.
And are there expectations that any of these seniors coming for the adult day program would be driving themselves?
That's very doubtful, yes. They typically, seniors arrive by van, and so there are multiple seniors in one van at a time.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Your growth on this site is remarkable, and your commitment to the community for healthcare to our seniors in the community, in the greater Lowell community, is commendable. The work you've done up there, as far as the landscape and the values of the building and the hardscapes and the like, is something to be desired by other health communities in your venue. So I do wish you the best of luck and the continued success that you've maintained on that property.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary. Ben?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, like my colleagues, I think this is a great project. I have one question, though. So Fallon Health, they're going to be serving mostly the residents at the program. Would they be also serving clients outside, like from the Lowell residents or Greater Lowell area? Can like people who have Fallon Health go and, you know?
It's a non-residential program, and they will be wanting to enroll seniors from Lowell and surrounding communities who would come to that site.
Okay, no, this is a great service you offer to seniors, so I fully support it, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Okay. The Leadership Solutions, is that just something in relationship to working with Fallon, or did you move to a new corporate name?
Well, our corporate name, our overall corporate name is Duville Life and Wellness Community. However, because of the types of services that we provide, we have to have certain corporate subsets. So, for example, our nursing home is Duville Senior Care, and we have to have a corporate identity because there's the relationship of the license to skilled beds. So, our HUD housing, Briere Gardens, is actually two separate HUD projects, so we have to have different corporate identities for those. Just a few years ago, we created Duville Leadership Solutions, which technically is our management company. It's just our way of allocating expenses across the continuum. And so we separate out this project to go with Duville Leadership Solutions to make sure it's not integrated from a business standpoint with the organization that holds the license to skilled nursing beds or to the HUD housing.
Okay, great. Thank you. No, just something that caught my eye.
It's all Duville.
It's all Duville, yeah. Okay. I mean, that's what I always say, yeah, over at Duville. Okay. I was discussing with Dennis, we have a special permit, which is in regards to the building, and then we'll have the variances, so two separate votes. And I believe the only condition we'll have is as long as you're able to meet with conservation, you said it's this Wednesday, and meet their conditions or revisements that they want. That'll be our only condition. So with that said, any other comments or questions or conditions any other board members have? Nope. You all set? So could I have a motion for a special permit, please?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for a special permit for Duville Leadership Solutions at 1085 Varnum Ave. Special permit for the construction of a 13,321 square foot building for adult daycare services with associated parking, utilities, and drop-off area, with the condition of meeting the approval of Conservation Commission.
Okay, can I have a second?
A second motion.
Have a roll call?
Chairman Bailey?
Approved with condition.
Member Callahan?
Approve with conditions.
Member McCarthy?
Approve with condition.
Member Paglia?
Approved with condition?
Member Peck?
Approve conditions?
And Member Perrin?
Approve with condition.
Okay, could I have a motion for the variances, please?
Through Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for variances for the Deauville Leadership Solutions at 1085 Varnum Ave for the construction of a 13,321 square foot building for adult daycare services with associated parking, utilities, and drop-off area as part of the Deauville Senior Care Facility, with the condition of meeting the approval of the Conservation Commission.
Okay, could I have a second?
Second.
Have a roll call?
Chairman Bailey?
Approved with condition.
Member Callahan?
Approve with conditions.
Member McCarthy?
Approve with condition.
Member Paglia?
Approved with condition?
Member Peck?
Approve with conditions?
Member Perrin?
Approve with condition.
Okay, well, appreciate everyone's patience for going last again, and wish you much success.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Yep, thank you. Have a good evening. All right, so our next order of business is minutes for approval. These are the minutes from August 11th, 2014. Any comments regarding the minutes? Hearing none, could I have a motion to approve?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from August 2014.
Could I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Chairman Bailey?
Approved.
Member Callahan?
Approved.
Member McCarthy?
Approve.
Member Paglia?
Approved?
Member Peck?
Approve.
Member Perrin?
Approve.
Okay, next meeting is September
22nd.
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 So, anything else before we adjourn? Hearing none, like a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
A second?
Second.
So moved.